2,500 years ago, cats were revered in Egypt. They lived in luxury and had an entire cult dedicated to them. Today, cats are still worshipped by millions around the world. They're famous for their grace, agility, independence, cuteness, and general awfulness. But this wasn't always the case. Felis coatis, or the domestic cat, is believed to have descended from Felis silvestris lybica, or the African wildcat, somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 years ago. And despite being the world's most popular pet, there is very little known about their origins. You see, unlike dogs, which were selectively bred by humans for thousands of years for desired traits like herding animals, hunting vermin, or just being a good boy, cats kind of did their own thing. Their relationship with humans has always been a bit more, transactional. We feed them, and they get rid of our rodents. But even so, we know that domestic cats weren't always the adorable balls of fluff we know today. For example, ancient Egyptians described cats with much hairier bodies, looking something like today's American bobtail or a Maine Coon. So how exactly did these long-haired alley cats turn into today's short-haired aristocrats? Well, recent genetic research may have provided some answers. By comparing the genomes of 58 cats today, both domestic and wild, scientists identified several genes associated with skeletal development that may hold the key to this transformation. The researchers narrowed it down to 3 chromosomal regions, 2 of which are associated with changes in body size and shape, while the other influences for length. These genes work by affecting the function of other genes, meaning the effects can be larger than just a single trait. One of the genes is linked to FGF5, which has been associated with skeletal development in other species, including mice. In mice, FGF5 has been shown to affect not just body size, but also hair growth and bone density. The other gene is connected to SPA1, which has been linked to brain development in mice and body size and weight in cattle. Finally, the gene linked to fur length is associated with a protein called RSPOOF2. RSPOOF2 is part of a larger signaling pathway involved in determining hair type and follicle shape in mammals. All this is pretty interesting from a scientific perspective, but how does it actually answer our questions about the domestication of cats? Well, for starters, it suggests that changes in body size and shape came first, followed by changes in fur length. This goes against previous theories that cats were first domesticated for their fur, then later selectively bred for size and shape. The researchers believe that cats were likely first domesticated as mousers, meaning they were valued for their ability to control rodent populations, which is a much more practical reason than, trying to make a fluffy blanket out of them. Over time, people began to notice the smaller, short-haired cats were better at catching mice. Their smaller size allowed them to squeeze into tight spaces where mice nested, while their lack of undercoat meant they could move quickly and silently. Long-haired cats were seen as less effective at hunting, not to mention more susceptible to injury because of their trailing limbs and tails. This is similar to the difference between the wild cat and the domestic cat. Wild cats are typically larger and have longer, thicker fur than domestic cats. It's thought that as cats became domesticated and their living conditions changed, natural selection favored smaller, short-haired cats that were better adapted to hunting mice. The smaller size could have also been advantageous in close quarters with humans, meaning short-haired cats were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. Of course, all this is speculation based on the available evidence, but what does the science actually say? Interestingly, the study found that the genes linked to body size and shape didn't appear to have any effect on behavior, but the gene linked to fur length did. Cats with shorter fur were more active and aggressive, while cats with longer fur were more passive and less aggressive. This suggests that early humans may have inadvertently selected for tameness in cats, when they preferred the smaller, short-haired cats that were more docile. Of course, this is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. There's still a lot that we do and know about the domestication of cats and their evolution into the modern house cat, for example. We still don't know for sure if the changes in body size and shape were the result of natural selection, or if humans were directly involved in breeding cats for certain traits. The same goes for fur length. We don't know if people intentionally selected for shorter fur, or if it was just a byproduct of the other traits they were selecting for. So why should you care about this study? What does it actually tell us about your beloved kitty? Well, for one thing, It shows that domestic cats have undergone a lot of genetic changes since they were first domesticated. Out of the 3 genes linked to physical traits, only the one linked to body size and shape has been shown to have a functional effect in other species. The other 2 have either no known function or a completely different function than what we're seeing in cats. This suggests that domestic cats have evolved rapidly and uniquely compared to their wild ancestors. The changes in body size and shape are thought to have occurred within the first 2,000 years after domestication. While the changes in fur length likely occurred more recently, this rapid evolution is likely due to the fact that domestic cats have been selectively bred by humans for thousands of years for desirable traits like size, shape, and fur length. Additionally, domestic cats have gone through a genetic bottleneck, meaning that at some point in their history, their population size dropped dramatically, which can lead to rapid evolutionary change. It's estimated that the domestic cat population decreased from around 100,000 individuals 10,000 years ago to just 1,000 or less 4,000 years ago. This bottleneck likely occurred when cats were first domesticated and people began to keep them as pets. As cats transitioned from a wild animal to a domesticated animal, they were exposed to new environments, new foods, and new diseases, which likely led to a decrease in population size. Only the most robust and adaptable cats survived, leading to a bottleneck effect. This bottleneck likely had a major impact on the genetic makeup of domestic cats and contributed to the rapid evolution we see in the fossil record. Finally, this study suggests that domestic cats are a relatively new phenomenon. The changes in body size, shape, and fur length are thought to have occurred within the first 2,000 years after domestication. This is much more recent than previously thought, and it highlights the dynamic nature of evolution. Evolution is not a static process, but rather a continuous and dynamic one. Even in domesticated species like cats, evolution continues to shape their traits and behaviors in response to their environment. The study suggests that domestic cats have evolved rapidly and uniquely compared to their wild ancestors. The changes in body size, shape, and fur length are thought to have occurred within the first 2,000 years after domestication. This is much more recent than previously thought, and it highlights the dynamic nature of evolution. In conclusion, the evolution of cats from wild African wildcats into the short-haired aristocrats we know today is a fascinating process that has been shaped by natural selection and human activity. While we still have a lot to learn, studies like this one provide valuable insights into the history of our feline companions and help us appreciate the unique qualities that make them so special. As for what this means for you and your cat, well, not much except maybe a deeper appreciation for the complex evolutionary history that brought your cat into your life. Maybe it'll stop them from knocking things off the table while you're trying to eat, who knows? The possibilities are really endless.